driven by Mazda.
I've given my heart and soul to this team, and I'm a very proud New Zealander, and I would love to be part of Team New Zealand again in the future.
Tonight, Dean Barker, we devote our entire program to an interview with him. Now, one way or another, of course, New Zealanders will be involved in the next America's Cup. Sir Russell Coutts is a New Zealander. 7 of the Oracle sailing team were New Zealanders. Larry Ellison is reported to have spent somewhere in the region of $150 million here building the Oracle boat. But will New Zealand have a national team? And if so, will it be led by Grant Dalton and Dean Barker? The clock is ticking on an answer for those questions. Already, as we'll hear, rival teams are shopping for our sailors. Do you want a team in the next America's Cup? And if so, should the government put some money in now to keep this team together? We would love to hear from you. But first, the man himself. How is he?
Well, there's definitely ups and downs. A lot of the time, you just find yourself in a daze, really. I think it's probably the only way you can describe it, just sort of reflecting, I think, on a lot of what's happened, and I think more just the disappointment of the way things unfolded over the last sort of week or so.
You say ups and downs. What have been the ups?
Well, the ups, unquestionably, is the amount of love and support that we've received as a team and personally for what happened in San Francisco, and it's really quite unbelievable the support that we've had. We went there and we're in a very commanding position. We went there with the attitude that only winning the America's Cup would be a success. Anything else was a failure, and having got so close to it, and then having to deal with all sorts of weird things which happened during the event, and then ultimately not to win. It was so gutting and disappointing. But then you just felt like I've said it before. Feel like you've let the whole country down because of the performance. Not being able to get it across the line. But then you get all these messages from people we've never met, and they're just so touching, so strong, the words that people use, and in some ways it almost makes it worse, because you feel like you've touched so many people in such a weird way, because normally in sport you're there to try and win, not come second, and it's been very, very moving, very emotional.
It's funny because we all know, everyone watching will know, and I certainly know, and you will know, that sometimes when we have high expectations for a sporting team, sportsmen or women, and they don't fulfil those expectations, we can be brutally tough on them. And I'm thinking particularly of the All Blacks in Cardiff in 2007. You seem not to have had that kind of response at all. And I wonder if in part it's because of you and Grant Dalton and Rob Waddell, people we admire as men who somehow transcend the limitations of mere results. Do you think that could be it?
We're a team that was set up to win the America's Cup, and there was no other result which was going to satisfy ourselves as a success. Getting to the America's Cup was no longer enough. It was about going there to win, and there was no secret in the fact that was the goal of the team and the way we set ourselves up. And when you're fortunate enough to work with people like Daltz, like Rob Waddell, and all the other individuals in this team, are collectively a group of very talented individuals, and all in the different areas. It is an amazing workplace and an experience that you definitely cherish. And the frustration is how close we got. It wasn't like we were there and we just unable to compete. It was just, we were there, and it was so close, and that I think is what makes it so hard.
Why didn't you win? Have you worked that out?
I think we haven't had time to debrief yet completely as a group. The thing that I think was reasonably obvious in the end was the fact that I think when we started the America's Cup finals, we were much better prepared than what Oracle was at that stage. I think we'd been through the Louis Vuitton series. I think we knew and understood our boat really well. We were fearful, I suppose, of the Oracle team before we actually started the racing. We'd never come up against them, and we knew that they had potentially quite a quick boat. I think the fact that they hadn't really had that same sort of racing up until the start, so they were probably a little bit green, but they very quickly figured out the moldings and things. The longer the event dragged on, I think it allowed them time to sort of regather and regroup, and then they obviously made some changes and developed the boat to a point where it was the speed upwind became just, for us in a certain condition, just too hard to combat.
Do you know what the changes were? It's funny, at a media conference up there, I asked Jimmy Spittle what the changes were, and I still don't understand what his answer was. It seemed that in a way they were saying there were no material or physical changes, that it was simply about teamwork, understanding the yacht, sailing better, which is part of what you've just said. But I'm arrested by the fact that there must have been some change to the configuration of that boat, or stuff on that boat, or something that was going on that boat that was more than just the men on board. Do you understand what that was?
No, we're not privy to know any changes, or we know that when the boat has had a change because it gets a new certificate, and so there were changes going on. Whether they were big, small, or what they were, we'll never really know. And there's a very strong process in place where the measurement committee they observe the boat each day, scrutineer it, make sure that it's compliant with the rules. And so you have to have trust that those guys will get it right. They won't make mistakes or won't miss things, and so you just have to trust in that process. I've heard all the speculation about the fact that there have been things going on that may not have been legal, but we don't accept that as being the case.
Would you have made changes if you could? I mean, there's stories we hear about, boatloads of people and equipment being flown up constantly, work overnight, new teams, new equipment, new tests, new trials that Oracle was doing. My sense is that Team New Zealand wasn't doing the same thing. Why not? Was it because we didn't want to make those changes? Was it because we'd run out of money? Was it because you felt that the boat was as good as it was ever going to be?
We had a very structured program, and we did all our development on the way through the different stages of the timer in San Francisco. So we had different dagger boards that were turning up, different rudders, bits and pieces, new elevators. We had to respond to all the safety recommendations that got imposed after Artemis capsized, and because we had to go through a structured LV program with all the different racing and race days, and the fact that we needed to be out there each of those race days to keep developing, we sort of felt that we had all the hardware that we were going to, we could have really effectively afford to buy, and then it was a case of learning how to use it all. So I think when we got to the AC final, and it was a deliberate thing, we wanted to be sailing the boat as well as we possibly could by then. I think we achieved that, but I think in the end we ended up racing against a boat by the end of the AC, which was, I think, just had some better systems in the way they were able to control the dagger boards, particularly with that upwind foiling.
When they first overtook you at speed, upwind foiling, was that a moment where you just looked at them and thought, holy S word, we are in trouble here?
Yeah, well, I think when we got to, I think it was about 6 we're on 6 ones. and they'd been making changes and talking about all the the stuff that they'd been doing, or not really talking about it, but it felt like we had plenty on at that stage, to hold them off, because you knew they were improving quickly, and whether it was through changes or just learning the techniques, they were definitely a lot better. We got to 8, and then you sort of felt, well, now they're one mistake away. We obviously had the race where the wind had, the time limit ran out. Had the 2 races we were leading when the wind limits triggered, and you sort of felt like you just needed one of those things to fall our way. But that's sport and life, and so you sort of swallowed it and moved on. But the telling moment for me was when the second to last race, and we sailed a strong. We had a good start, we had a good run, led around the bottom, and they just mowed us down upwind, and it was, we were powerless to do anything about it. It was just one of those things where we felt like we're actually sailing a good race here. It's just we've got a guy that's going a lot quicker, and so the amazing thing was just the belief that the team still had. We got, we went back to the base obviously that night. We debriefed again. All the things. We had a couple of ideas on just how to try and minimise the damage that they could do in those conditions. But there was no, we were powerless to do anything about it. There was no changes we could make to the boat or anything which was suddenly going to give us that extra performance. So when we went out the next day, we knew that we obviously had to put everything out there to in the decider to have a chance to win in those conditions. And we felt again that we sailed about as well as we possibly could have. There wasn't a moment in that race where you said, well, we wish we'd done that differently, or could have done this better, or whatever. It was we did what we set out to try and achieve, and again, it just watching them sail past us upwind is it's not an easy thing to deal with.
Man, you were shattered afterwards, weren't you?
Yeah, I still am. It's it's you pour everything you have into it, and you try to pace yourself over the 3 years. And 3 years ago, I never sailed a catamaran, and to be able to sit here and sort of be able to, I suppose, reflect on what the team achieved over that period. It's quite remarkable, I think, from what the team was, a monohull sailing team, to racing hydrofoiling AC-72s. It's quite a change, but the